The eternal question. How much money do we actually need to be happy? Is it 1 million? Is it 10 million? Or is it much less than you actually think? So back in 2010, Nobel Prize-winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman and economist Angus Deaton conducted a study that shocked the world. Or at least anyone that's ever worried about their bank account, as according to their findings, $75,000 is the sweet spot for happiness. Yep, $75,000, which is certainly not nothing, but it's hardly the riches that many people probably dream about. And the study looked at two types of happiness. So firstly, it looked at emotional well-being day to day, i.e. how you are feeling on a daily basis. And secondly, it looked at life evaluation, i.e. how you think about your life overall. And it turns out that according to this study, the emotional benefits of making more money tend to level off once you hit that $75,000 limit. In other words, your daily mood isn't really going to improve much beyond that point. So making more money might allow you to buy nicer stuff. You might be able to get a nicer car or a bigger house, or even afford a couple of trips to Nobu. But it's not necessarily going to make you feel happier day to day. One thing to point out is that this study is over 10 years old now, and that bastard inflation has happened. So what was $75,000 back then might be closer to, say, around $100,000 now. But it's still not a humongous figure. But here's the real kicker in my mind, because it's not just about the money itself, is it? Because when we talk about money and happiness, surely so much of it comes down to how much we think we need to earn to be happy. Because let's be honest, if you are constantly comparing yourself to someone that makes six figures, $75,000 might not seem like much, and you might just think to yourself that if I could just make $150,000, then I'd be happy. However, according to this study, you're probably wrong, and beyond that magic $75,000, or whether it's $100,000 adjusted for inflation today, more money doesn't buy more happiness. And yet, so many people think it will. And so why is that? Well, I think part of it is down to what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill, which essentially means that as your income increases, so do your expectations. Because we all can relate to that feeling when you get a promotion and it feels great for a little bit, but then, your neighbor just goes and buys a Tesla, and suddenly that Honda you've got parked outside just isn't cutting it anymore. Or it's like when you get a new mobile phone. It feels all great and cool for a little bit until the next model comes out 3 months later, and suddenly your super funky new phone feels ancient. It's also worth noting that there has actually been a more recent study from 2021 that has challenged Kahneman and Deaton's findings and suggested that happiness actually might continue to increase beyond earning that $75,000 amount. But even if that's right, surely it still comes down to how you feel about how much you earn. Because if you're the type that constantly chases status, or you're always comparing yourself to other people, no amount of money, even millions, may be enough for you. On the flip side, if you're someone that is good at focusing on what you have instead of what you're missing, $75,000 might be more than enough. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. $75,000 is all well and good, but how could I not be more happy earning another, say, $50,000? Well, sure, more money might help to reduce stress, pay more bills, and it might even give you more freedom. But just remember, there might also be a cost to pay for earning that higher salary. Maybe it's more emails, more meetings, and maybe even more time away from your family. Okay, so what does this all mean? I mean, what is the point of all of this? Well, Kahneman and Deaton were definitely not saying that money doesn't mean anything. We all have certain needs, and money can definitely play a role in fulfilling those needs. But what their study did show is that beyond a certain point, money doesn't seem to be the main player when it comes to daily happiness. Instead, what's really important is things like relationships, having a sense of purpose, and making time to do the things you love. Whether that's going to the gym, spending time with friends, or even just binge watching Netflix. So is $75,000 or $100,000 today the magic number when it comes to happiness? Maybe. Although I don't really think that is the question to ask. Because the real takeaway in my mind is that instead of chasing your next pay rise, perhaps you should be asking yourself whether you are chasing the right things. Money can buy comfort, sure, but happiness, that's an inside job. Thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, why don't you check out my previous upload here? Whilst you're there, you may as well also just subscribe to the channel, why not? You could also give this video a like, that would be great, and maybe even a comment. I promise I will reply. Thanks again, and I will see you in my next video.